Also, just so you guys know, if you forget any of this, or if you know somebody that wasn't able to be here today, just know the recording is going to be up later. So every single class period from now on, as soon as you get done with your starter, go to your classwork tab. Well, I guess you already have to have gone to your classwork tab to get your starter, huh? So you should already be there. And if you look up at the top, I added a new category that says helpful tools and links. And every single day from now on, I'm going to ask you to click on the link that says whiteboard app. And I'm going to go kind of slow to make sure that I don't leave anybody behind. So I'm in the classwork tab right now. We're underneath the helpful tools and links. And you're going to open up that whiteboard app. And then you're going to click the button that says join class. And every single day it will ask you for a class code. I really love this app. The only thing that's a little bit obnoxious is that the class code changes every day. So from now on, now that I've told you about the chatbot or about this whiteboard app, I am going to always put it on the opening slide for class every day, just so you know it'll always be there, whatever the class code for the day is. But for today, I just need to tell you what that class code is. It's a lowercase e and then 5858. So I'm going to give everybody just a second. I want to make sure that we knew how to get there. So just in case I didn't want to leave anybody behind. So I'm just going to repeat myself. So every single day from now on, when you get done with your starter, we're going to go here to helpful tools and links. Click on the link. It'll take you to the whiteboard. You're going to click join class. And every day on the opening slide, I'll tell you what the class code is for that day. Today, that is lowercase e 5858. And you'll just click join. Put in your name. And what this does is this gives me on my end a whiteboard that has each of your names on it. And you guys can do freehand drawing. You can type a message to me. You can do a lot of different things. And since the chat feature is disabled for most of you guys, that way this allows you to speak up and ask me a question if you don't feel comfortable asking it out in front of the entire class. I couldn't care less about speaking out. It doesn't bother me, but I know a lot of people don't feel that same way. So from now on, you can always have this whiteboard open. If you need me to slow down, if you need me to repeat something, if you just have a general question, I've got all those boards up in front of me, so I can always see what you're typing, and I can help you out as soon, ASAP, because I know that you need me. And I'm going to type the code in the chat box for those of you guys who might have been a little bit late. Or actually, some of you guys can't get to... Oh, well, actually, you can, JoJo, can't you? Because you wouldn't have typed it in the chat box. So, JoJo, there you go. So, just one more time, in case anybody needs it. That class code was E, lowercase e, and then 5858. And that is the class code that you need for today's whiteboard app, just so that you can ask me any questions if you need to while we're going through class today, and you don't have to worry about speaking out in front of the group if you don't feel comfortable doing that. So I think we've got everybody in there at this point. Is there anybody need me to slow down? I think we're good to go. If I'm looking at the list of everybody that's in the class versus who's got a whiteboard, I think I got everybody. So there's a couple of things we're going to talk about today. And first and foremost, we're going to work on that class kick that we started on Thursday. But some of you guys are super duper close to done with that class kick. And you guys are going to learn one thing about me, that I never, ever, ever want to waste your time. I am always, want to, make the most use of your time when at all possible. So one of the things I hate doing is, if you've got your work done, you can get out of here for the day. You do not have to be here. There's a couple of you guys that did get your class kick finished. I've gone through everybody's class kick and I've provided feedback. I'm going to let you know in a minute how you can figure out for sure whether or not you got all of your class kick done and whether it's correct. But first, because so many of you all are finished, I want to turn your attention to what you can do here in class today if you are done with your class kick. Because there's a couple of you guys that either are done or will be done very quickly. So on your classwork tab, you're going to notice that you have a new assignment, and you know that it's homework because it has that notebook next to it. And you can see that it's due by September the 2nd, and that will be our next class meeting on Wednesday. So this is homework that needs to be finished by Wednesday. If you're done with your class kick, you can go ahead and get started working on that, and then that way, while I'm here logged in, I can help you while you're working on your homework if you want. But I need to show everybody at once how the homework works, because I know for a lot of you guys it's going to be new. So we're going to open it up. And this is a Google form that tells you, let me go to I need to go here, my bad. Sorry guys, give me one sec. Here we go. So this is a Google form that it's just going to be more practice over mean, median, mode, and range. And so this is your homework. And it provides, besides our entrance ticket, which had the notes and the instruction video on it, I also added another review video in case you want to review how to do mean, median, mode, and range. And then it's just a series of practice questions where it asks you for the median, the mode, the range, and the mean. And it's just 10 questions. And again, these are due before class on Wednesday. And let me show you what is pretty cool about the way this homework works. I don't know about you, but when I was in school, I would frequently go home, I would do my homework, and I would think I was doing it right. And then I would get to school the next day and find out from the teacher that every one of my answers were wrong. So I've started using these Google forms because you can set them up so that they actually tell you whether or not you're right as you're working. And so I want to show you how that works. So I'm going to actually skip down. We're going to do number 2 together as a group, because I'm going to use this one as an example. And I am going to deliberately do something wrong at first for number 2. Okay, so it says find the mode. If there is more than one mode, type it in this format, and I'll explain what that means in 1 second. So we're looking right here at number 2. Hopefully you recall, and if you don't quite remember, that's cool. I'm going to give you a little memory jog right now. Remember that the mode is the one that turns up the most often, okay? So I am getting ready to do something wrong to show you how this works. So I'm going to go through and I see, I say to myself, well, I have 3 2s, but I only have 2 of everything else or 1 of everything else. So I think that 2 is the one that turns up the most. So I think that 2 is the mode. So I'm going to type in the answer blank right here. I'm going to type a 2. And then I'm going to try to go to the next problem. And you see that I get this little error, well, not really an error message exactly, but kind of. And it says, your brain just grew, keep trying. My students think that's really cheesy, but I don't care. I always say whenever you make a mistake, I always say something like, well, your brain just grew, because it's true. You actually get smarter from messing things up. If you never make a mistake and you just do it right all the time, I mean, you're not really getting smarter, right? They've actually done research to proves, lost train of thought, that your brain structure, actually, when you make a mistake and you learn from it, you literally get smarter. Like, connections in your brain actually form and make your brain bigger. So I always say, oh, your brain just grew. Well, what was my mistake? I think some of you guys have probably already figured out what that mistake is. My mistake was I didn't have just one mode this time. I actually had 2 modes, because yeah, I had 3 2s, but I also had 3 3s. So I actually have 2 modes in this particular example, 2 and 3. Now here's where I love Google Forms, because it tells you whether or not you're doing it right as you do it, but it's a little bit picky, which is kind of annoying, and I totally get that, because it says type in this format, smaller, comma, larger. So let me show you what I mean by that. So my 2 modes are 2 and 3. So that means when I say type it as smaller, comma, larger, that means type the smaller mode first, put a comma in there, and then type the 3. Don't put an and. You've got to pay attention to what the directions say. So for example, if you type and, it's actually going to count it wrong, even though you're technically right. And I know that's kind of obnoxious, but unfortunately that's the downside to using Google Forms, which is why I always try to give you really clear directions about how to type in your answer. So that should always be the first thing you look at. If it tells you that your answer is wrong, make sure that you go back and check, did you put it in following the directions? Another issue that people have been having on the work today is rounding, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. So let's say you're working on your homework tonight. You start it, you've just done number 2, and I don't know, Granny calls you and says it's time to eat dinner. You want to save your work, and you would do that by scrolling down and hitting submit. But notice right here, it won't let you submit it until you do all the questions that have the red star by it. So that should always be the first thing you do, because you'll never be able to submit your work without typing that stuff in first. So I'm going to type in my last name, first name, and my period. Now it'll let me submit it. And so then let's say it's after dinner. I want to go back to work on it again. All I have to do is go back to the assignment, click on the link again, and it's going to tell me you've already responded, but obviously I'm not finished, right? So we're going to click Edit Response, and it picks up right where you left off. And this is also important. So let's say I didn't fix number 2. I left it wrong. The form won't let me submit a wrong answer, but it will let you submit an answer blank. So if you're at home tonight and you keep getting the wrong answer for, like, let's say number 3, it keeps telling you that you're wrong, you can text me, you can add a comment to Google Classroom, you can email me, whichever one of those you want to do, and I get back to you really quickly on homework questions. You know, say something like, well, I got for number 3, this is what I got, and I keep getting it wrong, and I'll respond back to you. But if you need to go ahead and save your work before I have a chance to answer, make sure that you all just delete it and click submit. So you can submit blank answers like I have here, but it won't let you submit a wrong answer. So if you need to submit it to save your work, make sure you just erase the wrong answer and you can come back and do it later. So this is your all's homework for tonight that is due, well, not tonight necessarily, it could be tomorrow too, because it's not due until Wednesday of before we have class on Wednesday. So you've got, a couple days to do that. So if you've already got your class kick done from Thursday, this is what you'll do. So the next step is to figure out, how do you know for sure whether or not your class kick is done? So here is how you know that. So you're going to look for stickers that are on your classwork. If all your answers are correct, you'll see something like a sticker that looks like this. Alrighty, why isn't it letting me do that? Hold on a second, guys. It should just let me put it right on there. Here, I'm gonna go. Hold on a second, guys. Hold, please. My internet's being goofy, so give me just a second, you guys. Oh, thanks for your patience, you all. It's coming, it's coming. It's just being a little slow for a minute. For some reason, my Wi-Fi is worse in the afternoon, and I haven't figured out, I may have to figure out a better strategy here to get it to work. So just be patient with me for a sec. Yay! All right, there we go. So what do you do, or how do you know whether or not you're done? So if you see a sticker at the top that looks like this, you got it all correct, you know that you're finished, okay? If I put that up there, that means all your answers are right. You can move on and you can do your homework. And if you don't want to stick around and do your homework for class time today, that's all right. You don't necessarily have to, as long as your class kick is done. But if I were you, I would go ahead and want to go ahead and work it while the teacher's here on the call with you. But you certainly don't have to. The only thing you're required to do before you get out of here today is check and see, do you have all of them completed and are they correct? If so, you can jet. I will say that if for some reason, like if you still want help with your homework, but you for some reason can't, if you see that sticker, you are all good, you're finished. A lot of you guys have stickers that look like this one right here. Okay, it says, Sally Snake is wondering how you got your answer. Okay, guys, I know I'm not the first math teacher to tell you this. It's so important in math that we can see your thinking and how you got your answer, because without it, it's hard for us to figure out where you made your mistakes. So go through, if you see anything that looks like that, that means I need you to go through and I need you to show your steps. You can do that by uploading a picture. Remember all the different options you can do. You can give me a text box. You can use the pen feature. You can use the camera and upload a copy of your steps. But I can't just see an answer. I can't take it and give you full credit without knowing where that answer came from. So if you see something like this, Sally Snake is wondering where you got your answer, that means I need you to go back and I need you to add some steps so that I can give you full credit. Or there might be a mistake there and I can't figure out where your mistake came from because I can't see any work. The other one that you might see is like if you have just like a little issue with rounding, might want to go back and adjust that. So if you're done, you should see that you got it all correct. And again, if you're done, it is your choice for today. You can either jet and work on this homework on your own, or you can stay on the call and you can work on it now. But most of us are still doing a little bit of work on this class kick. So before you get started, I'm just going to give you a quick little memory jog. If you don't need, and remind you what mean, median, mode, and range look like, and go over a common mistake that I've seen on a lot of people's work. So I just want to go ahead and get that out of the way now. If you don't need to listen to me, you can mute me. If you know how to do this, you can get started. But for the good of the group, I'm going to go ahead and, give it a little reminder to everybody. So the first thing is Remember that when you find the mean of a set of data, the steps for finding the mean, and if you want to write this down, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Remember that you need to add all the numbers together. So step 1, you're going to add all those numbers together. And then step 2, you're going to divide by how many numbers you have. So the first step is that you need to add all those numbers together, and then you're going to divide by how many numbers you have for the mean. The median in a set of data is the middle number, and I want to talk about number 2 on the class kick. I had a lot of people that had the same incorrect answer on number 2, so I want to go ahead and talk about that right now. So most of you guys did a great job of realizing on number 2 for the median that you had to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. So everybody did that pretty much. I'm going to do that real quick. So 4, 4, 4, 5. Ooh. Oh, wait, there's another 4 there. 6, 6, 6. Oh, I hate that had 3 6s in a row. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 7s. So most of you guys did a great job. You put it in order from least to greatest like you were supposed to. But then we had an issue right here. You saw that this is one half of the numbers and this is the other half of the numbers. So you didn't have just one number that was in the middle. So a lot of you guys wrote 6 and 7, saying that 6 and 7 were the median. That is almost right, but not quite. Whenever you have two numbers that are in the middle, remember that you take those two numbers, so 6 plus 7, you add them together. So 6 plus 7 is 13, and then you take that and you divide it by 2. So you need to take those two middle numbers, you need to add them together, and then divide by 2. So the actual median for number 2 is 6.5. It's the number that's halfway in between 6 and 7. I'm going to leave this up here for just a second because there's a bunch of people that goofed on this one. So I want to make sure if you need it, a minute to write this one down, that you got it. If you need me to leave it up here for another minute, please write me a little note on your whiteboard real quick so that I know to leave this. If you're good, then I'm going to go on in just a second. But if you need another minute, just give me a quick little yes on your whiteboard if you need more time to check this out. Okay, so I'm not seeing any yeses, so I'm going to assume that means we're good to go. So we've talked about the mean, we've talked about the median. I already reminded you that the mode is the one that occurs the most. So then the last one was the range of our set of data, right? So the range is your highest minus your lowest. So that highest minus that lowest. I'm going to leave that up there for just 1 second. Sketch on your board for me if you need another minute to write that down. I'm going to assume that everybody's good. Okay, you guys always have the benefit of being my third class of the day because you always get to see, or I get to see, what messes up other people so that I can give you a warning about what to do differently. And people have had so many issues with rounding today. Okay, on the homework, it asks you to round to 1 decimal place if you need to. So I'm going to remind you how to do that. So let's say you're doing your homework tonight and you get this answer, 36.4596. And the directions tell you to round to 1 decimal place. That means that you're going to round that number right there. So you have to decide, are you going to round it up or are you going to round it down? And there's this really cheesy, kind of stupid expression from elementary school where you draw the little arrow to the one next to it and you say, if it's 5 or above, show it some love. Okay, so what that means is that really stupid expression. If this number next to it is 5 or bigger, it means you round this one up. So if we're rounding this one, we're going to round it to 36.5. Now, let me give you a different example. Let's say I'm going to change my ink color here so it doesn't get too confusing. So maybe we have 42.647. If we're rounding to 1 decimal place, again, we're rounding the 6. But if I look at the number next to it, it's smaller than 4. So that means that you're not going to round the 6 up. It's going to stay the same. So the rounding has been a bit of an issue for some people today. Just making sure that you read those directions on the homework. And it's going to tell you to round to 1 decimal place. So I'm finally going to stop running my mouth here and give you guys the next 25 minutes to work on that class kick. Please make sure, again, when you get, I'm going to be checking it. I'm going to be giving you some feedback on that as we go. If you have a question, remember how you can ask for help, that all you need to do is click the little hand raising feature. Oh, oops, I froze my screen so you can't see it. Hold on. There we go. You're going to raise your hand using the little icon that's over there to the right to raise your hand, and that tells me that you need me. That also tells a classmate too that somebody needs help. So here, remember to keep an eye out for that. If somebody needs help, you can earn some extra engagement credit by helping them out too. So keep an eye out for your peers that might need a little bit of assistance as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but I am going to keep an eye on, I'm going to start checking on your work. I'm going to start looking at, see if you guys have any questions on your whiteboards. And I think, I'm going to emphasize the think, I figured out a way over the weekend that we're going to be able to do actual group work on Wednesday for those of you guys who want to. So stay tuned for that. I know, especially if you're like me and you're a really social person and you do better working with other people, this is kind of lame that we're having to be so quiet, but I know, that just stinks. So, but I think I figured out a way for us to do group work on Friday. So let's work on our class kick. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to start popping in and seeing who needs me.